moms and dads, and a warm welcome to another episode of Today's Parent, where we connect you with experts and provide you with information to make your parenting journey a bit more easier. I'm your host, Christine Casina. In today's episode, we are going to talk about social and emotionally developing our children. And in studio today, we have family therapist and marriage therapist, Susan Kirabu, who's going to share with us the importance of developing our children socially and emotionally. Welcome to the show. Susan.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure too. Thank you.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Way back when we were growing up,
yes,
I never heard my mother talking about, I want this child to be emotionally balanced or to have better social skills. You know, we were just raised, and somehow they got it right, most of them.
Yes.
How did we get to this point where we need to accept and, just become more intentional on socially and emotionally developing our children?
Thank you. I'm looking at the changes in terms of times. Back in those days, especially like in rural areas, where parents were parenting, and at home back in children, they would come back and share a lot of information together. Now we are in the era whereby most of the parents are working class.
Very true.
These children remain back home with the nannies. And you realize the nanny doesn't have much to talk with the children. So these children, they don't get to know much about social skills. Now, as parents who are working, who are very busy, we need to calm down and teach our children how to speak, how to socialize. Some of these responsibilities we may not be able to delegate to any other person.
Absolutely.
Especially the nannies.
Absolutely.
So we got to find time and be with our children, teach them to do these things.
Okay.
Yes.
So why is it important of socially and emotionally developing our children? Why is it important?
It is very important. For one, these children, the first training they get from our home.
Absolutely.
So now, if these children are not taught how to communicate, how to socialize back at home, when you usher them out there, call it to school, to church, to work, they don't know how to express themselves.
They will struggle.
They don't know how to engage.
They will struggle for
They don't know
sure.
how to interact. So we are teaching them the skills that they will use with the outside world. Yes.
Let's talk about the younger children, talking about, getting them to connect better with the outside world, even just within the home.
Yes.
Toddlers.
Yes.
When our children get to between 2 years and 3 years, when they're trying to express themselves.
Yes.
How do toddlers express themselves?
Toddlers, remember this is at the age whereby they copy what the mom is doing. So actually, the mom or the caregivers is the main teacher here.
Right.
Whatever the child sees the mom doing or the caregiver doing, the child will go and duplicate that. For example, if the child finds the mom washing clothes, the child would actually go and do that. So me as the mother, or you as the mom, or the caregiver,
right,
what are you teaching this particular child? Because whatever she sees the mom or the caregiver do, she will go and duplicate exactly what is happening.
So we are their first teachers.
They
emulate what we do.
I tell you, you're very right. We are the first teacher to this child. So it's up to me as a parent. What morals, what values do I want to instill in this particular child? Then I can begin as young as the child can be by talking to them. So there are many ways I can teach a child these social skills through cuddling.
This is for younger children or children across all ages?
Children across all ages. Like for example, when a mom comes home, the child will come lifting her hands. When we embrace the child and we cuddle the child, we are teaching the child something.
What are we teaching the child?
We are teaching the child love, the warmth. The child feels the warmth and the love of the mother. So even as this child goes out to other children, the child will do the same. She will embrace.
A lot of hugging and
a lot of hugging, a lot of cuddling. The other area we can teach these social skills when you're doing toileting. When the child is learning how to go to the toilet.
When you're potty training them.
Yes. How do I teach this child? Sometimes, especially in the hands of the nanny, some of the nannies are not very kind to these children. So the child can learn even to hold,
That's true.
to avoid the beating or being mishandled.
Oh, no.
So how do I handle this child, even as I am teaching the toilet training? So this child learns tender care, love, and exactly that the child, when the child goes out, will express the same. The other area is to do with communication. How do I communicate with my child? Remember, at this stage, they make a lot of mistakes. They break glasses.
That's true, especially when they are small.
They do so many things. When the child breaks the glasses, how do I respond as a mom? Probably, due to lack of knowledge, most of the mom, they shout or they scream. As a mother or as a caregiver, when you scream or shout, actually, you're instilling fear into your child.
You know, we never think about it that way because it comes out so naturally when you're a mom. When something happens automatically,
Oh,
your
yeah.
voice goes to another decibel.
Oh yeah, look at the child. The minute something happens and the mom shouts, the child calls herself in fear. So you're instilling fear in this child. And as a grown-up, you can picture out a teenage, a young adult, a young lady, a young mom, a young father full of fear. They can't be able to take initiative. Because the little child, when he was taking all initiative, what would the mom do or the caregiver do? The mom would yell. The mom would shout. So these children, even as adults, 24, 35, they hear the voices of their mom. They're trying to do something, to take initiative, but they can hear the voices of the mom hearing. And what do they tell themselves? The inner conversation, I can't do it.
So they always second guess themselves.
They will always second guess themselves. They'll be very confused. Taking initiative will be quite difficult for them.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So speaking of which, if we don't develop our children's social skills
Yes.
and their emotional adaptability, how will that affect our children? Let's start with the negative. How will that affect our children if we don't do it?
If we don't do that, one, this child will not be able to take any initiative or develop the self-independence to be able to do things, to be able to start something. Actually, and you can even tell, being with a child who has not been socially brought up by the parent,
Yeah.
these children are rigid.
When they don't have those social skills.
Social skills. They are very rigid. So they are very reserved. So they keep to themselves. They don't know how to socialize. They don't know how to engage. If they go out and they are mingling with their age mate, say for example, maybe they can find an age mate eating a fruit or something. They don't even know how to engage them. Please share with me. So they go grabbing. So it becomes a source of conflict because they don't know how to express themselves.
Absolutely.
So they do it the wrong way.
Speaking of which, Susan, the social skills we are talking about,
Yes.
good social skills in children, which are these skills?
So these social skills we are talking about in children, it's about how to talk, how to express
Right.
themselves. Like for example, if a child wants something, how do they ask for it?
So how do you recommend, especially as somebody who works with families, as a family therapist,
Yes,
when we talk about those good social skills,
yes.
how should our children ask for, if they need to borrow from somebody or just within the home? What's the how? What skill can you share there?
Remember, I am the teacher as a mom. So if I'm asking this child to give me something, how do I ask?
Oh, so like you mentioned at the beginning, the child will model my behavior.
Oh, yes.
So they've already learned from me.
Yes.
So I need to look into how I normally do it.
Yes. And then when you now, for example, you send this child to go and do something or to go and bring something, how do you respond to that? Do you acknowledge? Do you compliment?
Oh, with that thank you.
With a thank you. That was very nice. Or buy us a crab. Well
Well
done.
done.
So that, you see, as you do this simple action, you're teaching something. You are instilling some morals to this little one. So a lot of action. Not only talking, but now doing the action takes the day.
Okay.
And it has to be very consistent, and you continue repeating it every now and then until when the child is able to pick it up completely.
Looking at toddlers, and at toddler age, teaching them how to share.
Yes.
Even having that conversation of what sharing is so difficult for a 2-year-old to understand that I need to share.
Yes.
How do you teach? I know sharing is a good skill when it comes to, one of the good social skills that children need to have.
Yes.
How do you teach a child to share?
I can first of all, me being the mother, demonstrate that. I come with something and I'm telling my child, we are sharing with you this. And this is how we share. So now I am splitting, this is how we share. So have your piece. Next time I'm giving my child and I'm telling her, or I'm telling him, it's your turn to share with me. Cut for me and give it to me. Thank you. Oh, well done. We acknowledge that. See, the minute you acknowledge and you appreciate, the child feels good. So tomorrow you ask the child to do that again. The child will do that again
Even
and
for a
again
toddler?
and again and again. Oh,
Wow.
yes. Oh, yes. Toddlers learn very fast. And actually, you demonstrate fast. Then the child will be able to repeat very fast. Yes.
Kindness. How do you teach children kindness?
Kindness. Now, me being the mother or the caregiver, how do I handle this child? Am I tender? Am I kind to the child? So child learns more by action. I do it to the child, then I can tell the child to do the same.
Absolutely.
To another child. So a lot of demonstration, and you're also communicating, you're telling, yeah, that is very nice. That is what we call tenderness. Or they may not understand these terminologies at their very tender age, but at least now they understand, or they can feel the warmth, and they know how to handle their peers or any other person.
Right.
Yes.
How can you tell when your child is socially challenged?
Thank you. There are many signs that can tell a child is socially challenged. And one of it, the child is reserved. She doesn't know, reserved. So like in the company of the peers, she doesn't talk much, just observe. The child is so rigid. She can see other children doing their own, praying together, doing the other things. But the child in her own or in his own way is a bit rigid. It's not socially, so he's not able to mingle, to interact, to engage. So we be somehow isolated.
Right.
And not able to engage with the rest of, yes.
With the friends.
With the friends.
Normally we encourage children and even young adults, and even ourselves, to be extroverts. But I know introverts have their own strengths. I'm trying to see what's the difference between a child being an introvert, a child being shy, and a child not having proper social skills.
Let me start by defining the two terms that you're bringing on board. Introvert and extrovert. So when you're talking of extrovert, this is somebody who is or a child who is able to express herself or himself.
And very outgoing.
And very outgoing. An introvert is the opposite of that.
Not outgoing.
Not outgoing, very reserved, and they're not very able to express themselves.
But they could be confident still.
Yes.
Okay.
So how does a child become introverted or extroverted? Two things, nature versus nurture.
Nature versus nurture.
Yes. Or in other words, we are talking about genetic and environment.
Interesting.
Genetic, we are talking about something that is heredity, which only carries 40%. Environment takes 60%. So environment carries the day. So environment, we're talking about how this child is handled back at home.
And in the general environment.
In the general environment.
Right.
So the environment actually, it's what determines what the child becomes, an introvert
or an extrovert.
Or an extrovert.
Susan, with that thought, we're going to take a short break and then we'll speak some more when we come back.
All right.
In today's episode, we have marriage and family therapist Susan Kirago, who's taking us through the importance of socially and emotionally developing our children so they can have good skills to navigate this very difficult world. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to today's episode of Today's Parent, where we have marriage and family therapist Susan Kiragu taking us through the importance of socially and emotionally developing our kids. Susan, as we are coming back from the break, at the beginning you had mentioned a few pointers of what then determines how our kids are socially or emotionally, inclined to develop. You mentioned the aspect of genes. If my father was an introvert,
Yes.
will that mean that I'll become an introvert? Or what percentage does the parental part play in my personality and social and emotional development?
Thank you. As I had mentioned earlier, genetic only carries 40%. So my parent being an introvert or an extrovert, the determining percentage will only be 40%.
I remember you mentioned that.
So the bigger percentage
Is the
comes from
environment.
the environment.
Right, and you mentioned that is minus 40, 60%.
Yes, so the determining factor is the environment. So actually, the parent can be an extrovert and they give birth to an introvert. A parent can be an extrovert and they give birth to
An
extrovert.
introvert.
Because actually, it's the environment, how you socialize and how we expose our children.
Right.
And basically, there's no superior personality, whether you are an introvert
Or an extrovert.
The thing is, with either, we all need to socialize our children for the future, for now and the future.
Speaking of now and the future,
Yes.
how do we socialize our kids? With the young ones you mentioned, cuddling them and affirming them, clapping for them when they do something, telling them well done. What else can we do?
There are many things, like consistency as a parent. How do I handle my children? What do I honor my promises? Like if I tell my daughter or my son, I'll do ABCD for you.
That's a good one.
Do I honor my promises?
That is a good one.
Am I trustworthy to my children? Actually, how do children learn how to trust?
It is said that at the moment we are raising a generation of, youths and children where everything is instant. I want it now, I get it now. How then do you teach this important virtue of delayed gratification? How do you teach children that it's okay to wait?
Very important virtue. Remember, children as the young, the little one, the young they are, they would want their needs met now and here and now, not tomorrow. So now, as a mom, I can come in and teach. If I don't give you this thing today, tomorrow I can give to you double.
Okay.
So through conversation, rewarding and withdraw, we can teach a child through you reward or you withdraw. If I give you now, I'll give you one item. But if you hold on and I give you tomorrow, I'll give you two. So you have a choice. And you can imagine, for example, you have two children. One decides, let me have mine now. The other one decides, let me have mine tomorrow. So this one, who picked their item today, they will see tomorrow, oh, by the way, I am the loser here. Next time, I will hold on. So you attach a reward, and the child will go for the reward. Remember using the reward to teach a desired behavior to the child. Yes.
That's a deep one.
Yes.
Susan, social skills is about, in my opinion, it's about the small things, the little things that matter.
Yes.
The little but important things we can teach our children.
Yes.
Way back when we were growing up, I remember if a visitor was to come into our home, you'd shake the hand of the visitor. In fact, in my community, if somebody, of course, is older than you, I'll then shake your hand and hold, my other hand here, as a sign of respect.
Yeah.
In today's age and time, when visitors come into our homes, how can we, go back to those days? Because sometimes when visitors come to our homes, the kids are still in the sitting room or in the living area, the TV is still on, they're watching whatever they want to watch. There's no, we don't give privacy to our parents and the guests to have a conversation. Is this still important? Can we go back to those days, or do we say we are digital, we are today's parents, hapa ni kwetu, wageni wakikuja hao ndio wageni? How do we handle that?
Indeed, a very important part. And that takes us back to aspect of parenting. As a parent, the question I am asking myself, what values do I want to instill into my children? Remember, as a parent, I am the one who teaches my children on issues to do with boundaries. Now, in a situation whereby visitors has come to the house,
right,
and I've ushered them in, so I'm having adult conversation with these visitors.
Absolutely.
So what have I taught my children? Have I taught them to mark the boundaries? Because
No.
mom is having a conversation with her friend or with elder people. We as children, we need to give them space.
Do you think it happens in this age and time?
There could be several gaps to do with our parenting. Sometimes due to lack of knowledge. Remember, I cannot give my child what I don't have.
Absolutely.
If I don't know how to mark my boundaries as a parent, there's no way I'll be able to teach my child how to mark the boundaries with the adult.
Yeah.
So we go back to the drawing board. We need to teach the parent to teach so that they can be able to step in and teach their children. When visitors come, please rise and allow the visitors to sit. When visitors are having conversation, these are their own conversation. You can step out, you can go to your bedroom, you can go elsewhere. If you're watching cartoon, you can wait. If there's an extra TV, yes, you can go and watch the cartoon elsewhere, or you can wait until when the visitors are gone, and then you can come back and watch the cartoons.
Whatever you are watching.
Yes. So back to the parenting aspect. So we need to empower the parents.
I hear you loud and clear. A friend of mine shared with me a story where they were in church.
Yes.
And then the church was full. And there was this elderly lady who didn't have a place to sit.
Yes.
But somehow you had children here and there who were sitting down. Do you feel it's the responsibility of us, the parents, to then tell our child to rise up and let the elderly person sit down? Or because they came to church early, it's their right to, sit down?
Oh yes. Remember, the parent is the first teacher. And whatever you teach your child, it sticks. If I teach my child that when you see an elder person or an elder person walks in home, allow the person to sit first. So the child will go and do that even in my absentia.
That's true.
For example, the child goes to the church and I am not there. The child will do as the norm is it's normally done back at home.
Yeah.
So what values am I instilling to these children? If I tell my son or my daughter to sit, I'm actually teaching them not to respect the older people. They can stand as you sit. So the ball goes back to the parent.
The parent.
Yes.
Speaking of which, respect, another important value in my opinion is hard work.
Yes.
Hard work, and I don't know how we can combine it, whereby you have, for example, your sister's children who come to stay with you for a few days, especially
Yes.
at a time like this where the schools are out. But then, come 7, 8 o'clock, the child is still in bed, they wake up, breakfast has been done, for example, by the house help, they take their breakfast, leave their dishes on the table. How can we raise our children that then, when they go into another home, that they're able to, model good behavior. Take your dishes to the kitchen, make your bed, help around the house. Do you think we've abdicated these duties that our helps and ourselves are doing too much for our children?
Oh yes. And indeed it's very helpful to teach our children some basic norms back at our home. Like you're telling the child, have your tea, immediately you're done with your cup, please take the cup
to the kitchen,
to the sink. Eat your food. Once you're done with your eating food, go to the kitchen, get the tablecloth, come and wipe the table.
And that's how most of us grew up, by the way.
And we validate this little action that they are doing. Well done. Thank you. Or you can even go ahead and buy them a gift once in a while. I like it. You did it so well. So the minute I teach my child to do that back at home, the minute I release this child to go to visit the auntie or the uncle, remember this child knows something. Or even the minute I teach my child to pray before eating. So the child gets to know, oh, before I eat,
I need to pray.
I need to pray. After eating, I need to carry my plate
To the kitchen.
to the kitchen. I need to clean up the table. So even as they go visiting, they know what they're supposed to do. They will ask the auntie, what do I do? Do I remove the plate? Do I do ABCD? And I'm imagining, even as they go visiting the other home, they will be oriented. This is how to go about it. This is what to do. And it becomes much easier for them now to handle. Yeah.
Thank you for coming to share.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
Good behavior will never go out of style. In today's episode, we had marriage and family therapist Susan Kirago, who shared the importance of emotionally and socially developing our kids. I hope you've taken a tip or two that you're going to practice so we can continue to do better as today's parent. And on that note, we come to the end of today's episode. I have been your host, Christine Kasina. And if you're looking for parenting information, go to www.supermamas.co.ke. We have been here in studio at Little Cribs, the home of fun, exciting, durable, and affordable kids furniture. We thank you for your time, and we wish you a wonderful day ahead. Goodbye.